Well, it's better than it was. Definitely, definitely better than it was. Okay, I mean, it's kind of the best that I can do for performance reasons. I don't really want to be... We're not constantly tracking the nearest log anymore, and if I wanted to find out what was closer, the firewood in the store or the nearest log, we'd have to be like constantly tracking the nearest log, which is something that we only do when they're actually searching for firewood. Yeah. It's more performant to not be doing that all the time, of course. And I don't think we want to, whilst the behavior might be preferable the other way, I think for performance reasons we've got to make some sacrifices. So... but this basically, like, I think what the problem was is that sleeping carpenters would have still been classed as available, even though they're kind of not, because they won't wake up to perform any of these tasks. So what would have happened there is there was the carpenter that was searching for firewood during the night, and I picked them up and I moved them over to a piece of firewood, and then they were like, well, I'm gonna go to bed. And I think that's because one of the other carpenters back at camp, which was already asleep, was classed as like the nearest available carpenter, even though they were asleep. So they obviously weren't going to do it because there's nothing to wake them up to do this. That's something we could do, but I've opted against it so far. Like, they wake up in the night to put fuel on the fire, but it's not. I mean, maybe. Right now, I think I'm okay with things. I don't feel like changing that behavior. I feel like things are okay the way they are right now. So what would happen now, hopefully, is that I would have picked that carpenter up and I would move them next to the to the log, and they would have returned to idle. They would have even been unallocated as the one who was supposed to be acquiring said log. Well, that's the thing, is like, well, no, they wouldn't have been unallocated. Well, if they weren't unallocated, what the hell was going on? Okay, I'm not so sure, actually. Because as far as I can see, there is nothing to, like, unassign them as the responding carpenter when you do that. So, but... Wait, what? No, it still doesn't explain it, really. I mean, it would have been... No, right, because they can't be any of these in order to become available again. not so sure. Oh, but... Okay, but there could have been firewood in the store now. Okay, that... I guess that would have done it? I think that would have done it. If also somebody had deposited some firewood into the store, then they wouldn't do this. Because they're like, oh... there is actually firewood in the store. And then... but they hadn't been unallocated. Huh. Okay, so that means that there's a possible scenario in which they kind of get stuck as the allocated carpenter, if you know what I mean. So I'm allocated to go get some firewood. Whilst I'm off doing that, someone else puts some firewood in the store. And then all the other carpenters like go to sleep or whatever. Player picks this carpenter up and puts them next to a piece of firewood, but then they stop because now there's firewood in the store, so they're like, okay, I'm not going to do this, but they're still allocated as the responding carpenter campfire. They've been assigned to go gather that firewood, but they can't do it anymore because there's now firewood in the store, but they also can't do this. Is that right? Responding carpenter, store, firewood equal. That would those would both have to be no one, which this is not. So they can't do this either. Huh. So how do they get unallocated in that scenario? See what I'm saying? It's almost as if we do need to unallocate them when the player picks them up, is kind of the simplest solution, I suppose. If they get removed from the responding carpenter's thing when the player picks them up, then they would have been put back down. They would have been able to do this, actually. But they wouldn't necessarily be the nearest available, so that's the issue there. If you pick them up, trying to move them in position. Okay, so you so the first thing that came to mind is like you clear them off of those trackers when the fire gets fuel or when firewood is deposited into the store, right? But they, yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. There's nothing in the state to break them out if they get unallocated, so they would kind of keep doing it, but they wouldn't be stuck on that tracker, right? That was my first idea, but I'm also thinking about like the fur and the lumber. What about that? Can that be a problem exactly? I think because that's withdrawing something from the store. I don't believe there's any issue there really. They're basically always going to finish that task unless they were to like die or something, so I think we're okay. What does combat interrupt look like for the carpenters? So they don't get unassigned by combat interrupt. So they would resume their task after the combat ends or whatever. So I think basically, like, if somebody puts fuel on the fire when somebody has been assigned to it, that might be it's kind of a more universal way of doing it, really, isn't it? Let's see, state, feed fire. Oh, feed fire. Feed fire is a bit. Oh no, wait, it's here. Okay, so it already works like that for feed fire. I suppose the problem is that it probably doesn't work like that for deposit firewood. No? What is this? This is on interrupt. Only if it's you. Wait, go back to that one. Oh, it's only if it's you. Only if it's you. Because the player could do that. What's the thing there? It's like they're going to deposit the firewood back into the store, and then that would clear them. So they would actually add to starting soon. They would still be allocated until they got the firewood back in the store. What if they died before then? They would be cleared off anyway, wouldn't they? Okay, I think that one works because of that. But deposit firewood. So this, what is this, interrupt? Or inside true? Jesus Christ. Okay, if they get interrupted whilst trying to deposit firewood because the store sets on fire or something, or it's full even, then they get cleared off of these trackers. What is this? Oh, interrupts for like right, they're depositing the firewood into the store. Yeah, but I mean, is there any guarantee that they would be the one that's allocated in that case? Feed fire. If no one's already allocated. And they're the nearest available. See, yeah, there's not really any. Oh, but wait a minute. No, I need to be looking at. You got firewood in your inventory, and you're the nearest available. But then I suppose if someone else were to do it. This again. Oh, this is if you're already allocated, right? Because we have this weird thing where they haven't been unallocated. If they were allocated, but then the fire, like the player fueled up the fire, and then they're redepositing the firewood back into the store, but then somehow the fire runs out of fuel again, or is not held by the it's both of those, sorry, yeah. Somehow the fire was to run out of fuel again, then they would stop what they're doing and then they go back. Okay, and then we've got the actual fueling of the fire here, which is, no, this is, what is this? Depositing, okay, the depositing of the firewood, where see, I wonder if this is the best way to do it or not. So I fuel up the fire. I'm the one who's been allocated, that's fine. No, it's depositing. If I deposit firewood into the store, and somebody's been allocated to get firewood, I guess we can clear them, like anybody. Or possibly the other way of doing it would be, what would be the other way of doing it, if there was another way of doing it? Because that allocated carpenter's not going to be able to do either of those things now. LinkedIn, dude. I need to destroy my LinkedIn account again. It's annoying. Such a shit website. It explains the bug, I think, actually. Okay, maybe... Yeah, maybe you could do that. Back to state conditions. Speed 5 km. So you would want to combine this part with if nobody's been assigned to do this, else if you've already been assigned to do this, then just carry on doing it, basically, right? Regardless of the other stuff. Some of it's still universal, I suppose. So it becomes like... Trying to think what's the easier way of doing it, really. The other way is definitely the easier way of doing it. I'm just wondering if this is the better way of doing it. I mean, okay, if you... True, the store's completely irrelevant, actually. But it's completely irrelevant. Isn't it completely irrelevant? Because withdrawing is just higher priority than this in the first place. So if the store exists and has firewood in it and nobody's been allocated to do either of these things, and you're the nearest available, or you've already been allocated, then you'll withdraw firewood from the store. If that's not true, then you'll just go to this. Notice how it doesn't mention anything about having fur in their inventory for this one, but it does this one. Kind of weird. I mean, then... they're not going to be nearest available if they've been assigned to withdraw fur, so I feel like that's a redundant check. Actually... yeah. Right. This stuff is all completely redundant, actually, because if there's firewood in the store and blah blah blah, you can just, you'll do that, else. It's kind of like else you'll do this, right? Just because this is higher priority. If that's true, you'll just do that and you'll never get to this stuff. So why on earth are we checking, like, if the store is built and doesn't contain firewood and isn't on fire and stuff? It doesn't make any sense. If we would have just done this. So actually, I'm pretty sure we can delete this whole section, and that... Does that solve our problem? Sorry, I've lost sight of the original problem. Already assigned, but didn't get cleared by being moved. Couldn't do this because there's now firewood in the store. Yeah, it solves the problem. Okay. And we can keep everything else how it was. Plus, it's a minor optimization because there's less checks involved, which is pretty nice. Plus these are redundant, right? Those are redundant. Because you're either this or you're available. You can't be available and assigned to one of these, so that's redundant as well. Huh. Nearest available carbon is the campfire. And you sure as hell aren't available if you've been allocated to do one of these tasks. Pretty much. Let's say goodbye to all this stuff. Alright, nice. That's pretty good changes there, actually. Okay. That's it. I mean, that's kind of, that was like, sort of felt like two birds with one stone there. Well, not really. We kind of solved the problem, but we got a little minor optimization out of it as well. I can't be bothered going through, and there's possibly other redundant checks similar to those that I could remove. I'm not too worried about it right now. As long as it works, I'm okay with it. But that's pretty good. Yeah, that was it explains the bug, right? Because we had this bug. I don't know how it fixed itself after a while. How did it fix it? It makes sense. No, actually, it fixed itself after a while if the carpenter that was like stuck on that tracker, the campfire starts running out of fuel again, and then that carpenter goes and gets some firewood and puts it on the fire. They like clear themselves off of that tracker, but there was just this one scenario where a carpenter gets allocated to find some firewood because the fire is running low on fuel, and then whilst they're off doing that, someone else gathers some firewood, but they've not been allocated to put it on the fire, so they deposit it into the store. So there's now some firewood in the store, and the campfire needs fuel, and this carpenter has been allocated to find some fuel, and then you pick that carpenter up. Is that part of the problem? Well, yes, you pick that carpenter up, you move him, and you put him down next to a piece of firewood. But there's now firewood in the store, and the logic said that if there's firewood in the store, you can't search for firewood, basically. So he's now stuck on that tracker. He's been allocated as the responding carpenter campfire. He's been allocated as the one who's got to go get the firewood. So he's stuck on that tracker now, but he can't do that because there's now firewood in the store, but he can't withdraw the firewood from the store because he'd have to be allocated to do that, but he's already been allocated to do something else, so he can't do that. So he's now stuck, and now nobody else can be allocated to do it either, because only one of them can ever be allocated to do that task at once. So it explains why the carpenters were not putting fuel on the fire for a while. It's an explanation, and I'd say it's a likely explanation. And then after a while, like, something happens, I don't know what happened actually, to kind of fix it. They did sort of break out of it eventually, right? I guess, what would have happened? He would have started searching for firewood again, because he's still on that tracker. He's still been allocated to do that. But the fire would have had to start running low on fuel again before he could do that. And then if he finally gets that firewood and puts it on the fire, then it like frees up the tracker again and everything starts working as normal. I think that was probably what was going on. Not 100%, but I think that's probably what was happening. So, we may have actually fixed that bug. I'll put that on tentative, and we'll keep an eye on things as we go. God, yeah, this is why you've got to do playtesting, because there's a lot of edge cases. Like, until recently, you know, I didn't really bother, like, picking the carpenters up and moving them to the firewood or anything. I never really tested for long enough to need to do that. And we did have a bug. Oh yeah, we had a bug with the wolves, like, attacking when they probably really shouldn't have been attacking. I mean, yeah, probably they just didn't have a chance to update in time, really. But you would think they should run immediately. As soon as they realize, because they... Yeah. Yeah. I think it's in it's in this now, trackers update combat, so maybe there's something wrong with this. I've been updating this recently, right? So predator check. What? Deer? What is this? Oh, right. No, sorry. Yeah. Where's the fucking threat level update thing? Am I even looking at the right thing? No, this is for rabbits. I need to look at the... I forgot that it's all in this same function. Wolf. Gotta get used to these, like, universal functions, because I'm gonna start writing them that way, I suppose, from now on. Yeah, no, it's in here. Threat, total threat level, allied threat level, wolf same pack. Wolf same pack, nearby threats. Total threat level, nearby threats. So is there something wrong with nearby threats, or... Not a fox, wolf of a different pack. Institute pack ID does not equal other dot pack ID. Inside false. So there is that, I suppose. But you'd think they would update pretty quick and like realize that they need to run. So it leads me to believe the issue is more likely something in here. Total threat level greater than allied threat level plus threat level. Pretty straightforward. I mean, you would expect that to work. Yeah, because we had like a wolf engage in a 1v4 and they didn't even try and run away, they just like charged in and died instantly. I can understand them maybe like because a few of the wolves were in the den, so you couldn't see them, so they wouldn't have been tracked. One of them was visible, so he thought he was going into a 1v1, but then the other wolves emerged, at which point you would think he would run pretty much instantly, because we switch over to instant update. So once they enter the attacking state. State doesn't... Are you fucking kidding me? State does not even... Oh my god, we're not even doing it. Because it's... I've got to go through and check them all now. It's not going to be for the prey animals, right? Or maybe it is. Oh, I can't believe it. That's copy-paste gone awry again. The dangers of copy-paste, but you don't want to be rewriting all this code again and again. But yeah, that's what it is. You gotta be shitting me. I'm running this script in state attack and it says don't run this code in state attack. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy moly. Any more of those? Any more? Have I done the same thing anywhere else? Because that would be bad. That would be very bad. I think it was probably just that one, but I'll have a look by doing this. Seems good. Oh my god, well that explains it. Well, there's your problem. Okay, well we can cross that one off the list. My goodness. Okay, brilliant. Alright, that's it. That's it. So, I don't really have time to test this stuff tonight, but pretty happy with those changes, and hopefully those bugs are fixed as well. And that's that. Okay. Nice little 1 hour of game dev. I'm gonna call it a night with that. You know, should I release this build? Probably not until I'm finished testing it, and I do plan on testing it tomorrow. I don't know, should I? It's not like anyone's gonna play it. Not until that Steam playtest. I should definitely push it to the repository though, because those are some good ass changes. Okay, so what do we do? What did we do? Right. So humans, injured. Made injured humans visit shaman for healing, regardless of range. That was the first thing we did, and then what was it? Can't remember what this. Remove carpenters from available carpenters list when sleeping. Yeah. Fixed carpenter. Firewood gathering bug when gathering carpenter was returned to idle by being held after firewood had been deposited into the store, preventing them from gathering or withdrawing and getting stuck on the tracker. That's it. We fucking did it. Hell yeah. Oh, and I fixed the goddamn wolf bug. I forgot to write that one down. Can I update the notes after I've pushed something? I can reverse a commit. It's whatever. It's fine. Okay, we did it. We did it. Hell yeah. Alright, well that is it. That is it from me. I have not made an overlay for this scene yet. I do think it would be nice if I had like a little overlay action going on with this scene. Just like a little border, a little border and a background. I'm not sure where the stuff would go then. It would have to go inside of the border, I guess. I'll get around to it. I'm just glad that we have an overlay for the main scene now. It looks pretty good. Alright, that's it. That's it. I kinda want to release this build, if I'm being honest with you. I know some of this stuff is untested, but it sort of feels like the thing to do. Crank the old version number up. And compile. Version 0.592. Hell yeah. Jesus Christ, my jeans don't fit anymore because of all these squats I've been doing. Oh, this is a problem. A lot of my clothes are falling apart at this point. My jeans don't fit. I barely have any pants that fit anymore. But I can't afford new clothes, so I'm kind of screwed. Nothing left to drink. I'll just go grab a drink whilst this compiles. About to get flashbanged by Itch. Don't think it has a dark mode. I don't know why I keep updating Itch. Nobody uses it. So I just used it like one time or a couple of times to share a couple of builds with a couple of different people. But I have been updating it ever since. Soon we're going to have Steam keys, very soon. For the playtest, we're going to have Steam keys. Very exciting. Holy moly. Boom. Here we go. Version 0.592 is now available for Ko-fi members to download. Please do enjoy it. And I'll be back tomorrow to continue my playthrough and continue capturing footage for this new video that I want to make, which will be highlighting all of the different gifts in the game, kind of as an opportunity to show off my new sprites, and also I suppose the mechanics, or the AI, if you will. So that's it from me. It doesn't look like we have enough viewers to raid anybody or anything, so I'm just gonna head out. Thanks for joining me, and if you're watching the VOD, thanks for watching. Peace out.